Let's look at some more VHDL coding. We have already looked at data flow modeling in VHDL. Data flow modeling involved writing Boolean equations. We looked at structural programming, where you had port maps. You connected components using port maps, which was equivalent to function calls. The next flavor of VHDL programming is the behavioral modeling. In behavioral modeling, we are going to use if and else statements. Let's take some examples to understand how the behavioral modeling works. Let's write the VHDL code in behavioral style for a 4 to 1 mux. A 4 to 1 mux looks as follows. It has 4 ports 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. It has one select line which is 2 bits, that is S of 0 and S of 1, or S of 1 and S of 0. It has 4 inputs, let's say A, B, C, D, and it has one output F. So depending upon the value of S, either A is going to get outputted to F, or B, or C, or D. So if S equals 0, 0, then F is equals to A. If S is equals to 0, 1, F is equals to B. If it is 1, 0, F is equals to C. And if it is 1, 1, then F is equals to D. So the VHDL code is library IEEE, use IEEE dot standard logic underscore 1164 dot all. Write the entity. Entity mux 4 to 1 is port. Give the input ports A, B, C, D in standard logic. S in standard logic vector 1 down to 0. So that's 2 bits. And you have F, which is your output, that's standard logic. End entity. Next, we write the architecture. So architecture arch of mux 4 to 1 is begin. In behavioral style, we use process. So we write process and we give the inputs A, B, C, D, and S. So this is known as your sensitivity list, which means that the process block is going to get invoked if one of these values change. So under process, we write begin. So that's the begin and the end of the process block. If S of 0 equals 0 and S of 1 equals 0, then F gets A. So that's the if construct. For else, we write else if ELSIF S of 0 equals 1 and S of 1 equals 0, then F gets B. Else if S of 0 equals 0 and S of 1 equals 1, then F gets C. Else F gets D. End if, end process. and end architecture. So that's the VHDL code for a 4 to 1 marks in behavioral VHDL modeling. Now, as I said, this is your sensitivity list. So your sensitivity list has 5 inputs here, or 5 parameters. So if at least one of the parameters change, which means let's say B was 0 and now it went to 1, or B was 1 and now it went to 0, process block is executed. If none of them change, this block is not going to get executed. Behavioral VHDL coding is used a lot in semiconductor industry because it is a much more elegant way to represent complex digital systems. You can model the behavior of the digital system using if and else statements, which is much more easier than using structural modeling or data flow modeling. However, it is important to note that a typical VHDL code will be a mix of behavioral, data flow, and structural programming.